Hey guys, Guy in a Wheelchair here, and it's time for Deception of Religion number 20. Today we're responding to a fellow who posted a video listing what are to him the most convincing reasons to believe in a God. Now, I know myself as an atheist, and I hope all of you are open to the idea of God as anything else. You just have not been convinced by any argument or evidence. So who knows? Maybe this gentleman provides an argument that will convince us all. I'm going into this video with an open mind. Let's see what he has to offer.
First is that because stuff exists, it must have been created by a God.
Really, dude? I'm giving you an honest opportunity to change at least a couple of minds, and the argument you choose to start with is because things exist, they must have been created by a God. Okay, well let me give you 3 problems I have with that. Number 1, if God created everything, He also created life-threatening diseases such as malaria, cancer, and AIDS, and does not deserve our praise or admiration. Number 2, if God did in fact create everything, then which God was it that created everything? And number 3, why would anybody want to believe that argument when we have a perfectly logical and satisfying explanation through science, which is backed up by evidence and observation?
Second is that the stuff that exists is so fine-tuned and intricate.
Number 2 is that everything that exists is fine-tuned and intricate. Okay, well, intricacy does not prove a God, and nothing is fine-tuned, okay? We cannot live anywhere in the universe as of right now, except for this Earth. And if we can see that 70% of this Earth is water, that means only 30% is livable by human life. So explain to me how that is fine-tuned.
Third, many have argued based on anthropology for man's capacity for intelligence, social relationships, and sense of eternity.
Third is man's capacity for thought and feeling of eternity or sense of eternity. Okay, well, first of all, I don't think any of us are born with a sense of eternity. That is pounded into us by our individual religious beliefs. Second of all, man's intelligence, in my mind, is an argument against God, because God says over and over in the Bible, if you don't know, it's because I do not want you to know, and therefore you will not know, and you should not seek. The fact that we know as much as we do is, in my mind, a reasonable argument against God.
Then there's the moral argument that ethics and justice point to God.
Ethics and justice point to God. Okay, let me do this as quick as I can. In the Bible, there's a man named Lot in Sodom and Gomorrah who is considered the good guy in town, and God sends angels down to warn him of Sodom and Gomorrah's impending doom. When the angels arrive, the townspeople attempt to rape them. Lot lets them take refuge in his house overnight, and when the townspeople try to break down his door during the night to rape the angels, Lot then offers up his 2 virgin daughters. After God levels Sodom and Gomorrah, Lot and his 2 daughters go live in a cave where Lot's daughters get him drunk and then become impregnated by him. Okay, so there's your ethics. That's the good guy in town. As far as justice goes, according to the Bible's teachings, Adolf Hitler is sitting in heaven. How is that for justice?
Fifth, there's the nearly universal belief across cultures and eras of a God, an eternity, and final justice.
Yes, there is a universal belief across eras and cultures of a God, an eternity, and a final justice, and it is responsible for the majority of wars, poverty, and famine in human history, because no one can agree on who the God is, what heaven is, or how the final justice is carried out. How is that a good argument?
Finally is the ontological argument. Deductively, we can argue that because man can conceive of a being that is perfect, that being must therefore exist.
Because man can conceive of such a being must exist? Okay, well here's a couple for you. Humanity has also conceived of Batman, Superman, and the Loch Ness Monster. Do they exist? I can conceive of myself getting up out of this wheelchair and walking across this room right now. But I guarantee you, if I try to get up and walk across this room, I will fall and bust my ass. Just because you can conceive of something does not make it a reality.
So do these arguments prove that God exists? Not really, but they do make it a reasonable belief that He does. Says French philosopher Blaise Pascal, you must be renouncing reason if you hoard your life rather than risk it for an infinite gain. And that's 60-second theology.
Wait a minute. Did you just say these arguments are not convincing enough to prove that there's a God? Then why the hell would you make a video containing reasons why people should believe in God if it doesn't even prove to you that there's a God? How are you supposed to convince people to believe in God using arguments that don't even convince yourself? Thank you for wasting my time. If you think so little of human intellect that you think that this video was good enough to convince anyone to start believing in God, then your idea of human intellect is insulting and wrong.